sirens blared, fighter jets scrambled, and for a tense few hours in early September, Poland was on the edge of something Europe hasn't seen since the darkest days of the Cold War. Russian drones had slipped into Polish skies, triggering emergency shutdowns of airports, air defenses going live, and one of the most serious NATO security crises in years. And now Poland has had enough. Its leaders are issuing Moscow their harshest warning yet. If Russian drones, jets, or missiles cross into Polish territory again, they will be shot down. And if Russia doesn't like it, well, as Poland's foreign minister bluntly told the United Nations, Moscow should not whine. This is not just another war of words in a crowded news cycle. It is a turning point for NATO's eastern flank, one that could decide whether this simmering shadow conflict tips into open confrontation. So let's break down what happened, why Poland is drawing such a hard line, and what it could mean for Europe's security. To understand the scale of this warning, you need the context. Poland is not just any NATO member. It sits right on the fault line between Russia and the West, bordered by Belarus, Ukraine, and the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. For years, Poland has been one of the loudest voices calling out Russian aggression. When Moscow launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Warsaw doubled its defense spending, bought new American Abrams tanks and South Korean howitzers, and became one of Kiev's biggest supporters. In short, Poland sees itself as NATO's shield, and now that shield is being tested. The test came earlier this month. On the night of September 9th into the 10th, waves of Russian drones crossed into Polish airspace. As many as 23 were detected, forcing Poland to scramble fighter jets and activate air defenses. Several were shot down, but not before one piece of debris smashed into a residential building. Airports were shut down, flights diverted, and civilians told to shelter. For Warsaw, this was not a mistake or an accident. It happened during massive Russian-Belarusian war games running right across the border. And it forced Poland to do something it hasn't done in decades: invoke NATO's Article 4, calling for urgent alliance consultations on collective security. That alone tells you how serious this was. Article 4 is not war, but it is the step before it. Fast forward to this week, and Poland's leaders are done with diplomatic niceties. Prime Minister Donald Tusk declared that Poland will no longer hesitate to intercept and destroy any foreign objects that violate its skies. No ambiguity, no warning shots, just decisive action. At the United Nations, Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski went even further. He told Russia point blank that if its aircraft or missiles are shot down over NATO territory, it should not complain. In other words, Poland is putting Moscow on notice. The days of shrugging off airspace violations are over. NATO, for its part, has rallied behind Poland. Alliance officials quickly confirmed that they will defend member airspace by all means necessary. Additional fighters and air defense systems have been moved to the eastern flank, and consultations are continuing over longer-term measures, including an integrated drone wall stretching from the Baltics down to the Black Sea. The European Union and nearly 50 countries issued statements condemning Russia's actions. Even the United Nations, which usually couches its words, warned that the risks of escalation are dangerously high. But behind the public statements lies a deeper strategic game. Analysts widely believe Russia is deliberately testing NATO's resolve. By sending cheap drones into Polish territory, Moscow can probe radar coverage, strain air defenses, and see how quickly NATO responds. It is a way of undermining alliance credibility without firing an official shot. If NATO looks weak or divided, it sends a dangerous signal not just to Europe, but to other rivals watching from afar. For Poland, allowing this game to continue is unacceptable. Its leaders see these violations not as accidents, but as deliberate provocations designed to erode deterrence. This is why the tone has hardened so dramatically. Poland's warning is not just about drones. It is about drawing a red line that says NATO airspace is sacred and will be defended with force if necessary. As Prime Minister Tusk put it, Poland cannot and will not tolerate incursions that endanger its citizens. And while he added the caveat that ambiguous cases must be handled carefully to avoid miscalculation, the overall message is clear: the gloves are off. Of course, this new policy comes with risks. Shooting down a Russian aircraft or missile could trigger retaliation, especially if Moscow wants to prove it will not be pushed around. There is also the danger of misidentification. A stray civilian drone, a malfunctioning UAV, or even a misrouted missile could spark a crisis if taken down too hastily. These are not theoretical concerns. In 2022, a Ukrainian air defense missile strayed into Poland, killing 2 civilians, and for a few hours, the world held its breath. Now imagine the same scenario, but with a Russian military aircraft in pieces on the ground. The stakes are obvious, but Poland seems willing to accept those risks. Its leaders argue that not responding is even more dangerous. Every time Moscow crosses into NATO airspace without consequences, it normalizes the violation. That is why this week's warning feels so historic. It is Poland telling Russia, this far, no further. The implications reach far beyond Warsaw. If Poland enforces this policy and shoots down a Russian drone or jet, it will test the credibility of NATO itself. Will the alliance back Poland fully, or will cracks appear? Will Moscow escalate, or will it quietly back down? These are the questions now hanging over Europe, and they are why some analysts are calling this the closest the continent has come to a direct clash with Russia since the Second World War. At the same time, Poland is not acting from a position of weakness. Its military is stronger than ever, with billions poured into modernization, new weapons flowing in, and NATO allies reinforcing its defenses. Unlike Ukraine, Poland is fully protected under NATO's collective security umbrella. That makes any direct attack on its territory a gamble for Russia, one that could spiral into a much larger conflict. In Warsaw's view, this is precisely why the alliance must hold firm. Any sign of hesitation invites more testing. So, what happens next? That depends on whether Russia is willing to keep pushing. If another drone crosses the border, Poland may make good on its warning, and the world will see just how serious NATO is about its red lines. Or Moscow might scale back, calculating that the risks of escalation outweigh the propaganda value. Either way, the stage has been set for a dangerous new chapter in this already volatile standoff. In the end, Poland's message is simple but powerful. NATO's eastern skies are not up for grabs. Any drone, jet, or missile that crosses the line will be treated as a hostile act. No questions asked. Warsaw is making it clear that the era of warnings and diplomatic protests is over. The time for deterrence through action has arrived. For Russia, that means every decision to send hardware toward NATO territory carries real military risk. A cheap drone can still trigger an expensive political crisis if it is blown out of the sky by a NATO jet. A single aircraft lost over Poland could transform a calculated provocation into an international incident. That uncertainty is exactly what Poland wants to impose on the Kremlin. And for NATO, the stakes are just as high. Poland's stand is not only about protecting its own towns and cities, it is about testing the credibility of the alliance itself. If Moscow crosses the line again and Poland responds, the entire West will be watching to see if NATO stands shoulder to shoulder.